What if the one prayer you've been repeating since childhood is the very one you've never actually prayed? What if hidden inside those familiar words is a code, not symbolic, not poetic, but strategic, spiritual, and explosive? Because for centuries, we've spoken the Lord's Prayer like a ritual, quiet, safe, predictable. But Jesus didn't give us these words to memorize. He gave them to unlock, to awaken, to activate. And that means if you've been praying it on autopilot, you may have missed the very power you've been asking God to release. People pray this daily and still feel stuck in cycles of anxiety, lack, confusion, burnout, even spiritual exhaustion. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. If your prayer life hasn't changed you, then maybe you haven't encountered the real design behind the words. This isn't about religion. It's about access, authority, revelation. Because inside this prayer is a divine blueprint for identity, for clarity, even for breakthrough in finances, health, calling, and peace of mind. And most Christians, they never see it. So let me ask you, what if the answers you've been chasing in books, podcasts, and sermons were already hidden inside the prayer you say before bed? What if you've been standing at the door of breakthrough, repeating the code, but never turning the key? Because this isn't just about prayer. This is about power. And once you see what's really happening inside the Lord's Prayer, you'll never go back to praying the old way again. But I warn you, this will confront you. It will challenge your ego. It will demand your full attention. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The prayer everyone knows but few understand. You've probably prayed the Lord's Prayer more times than you can count. Maybe in church, maybe before bed, maybe when you didn't know what else to say. The words feel familiar, almost too familiar. They roll off the tongue easily. Our Father who art in heaven. But here's the problem. Repetition without revelation leads to stagnation. Many believers recite the words, but the heart behind them is nowhere to be found. And then confusion sets in. Why does it feel like my prayers aren't working? Have you ever felt that? Let me tell you a story. Michael was a devoted Christian. Every morning he began his day with the Lord's Prayer. Rain or shine, joy or sorrow, he never missed it. But as life grew heavier, bills piling up, a business failing, his marriage hanging by a thread, he started to wonder, why am I praying but nothing's changing? It wasn't bitterness, it was desperation. He was reaching out, hoping for a divine answer, and all he heard was silence. Can you relate? That aching space between your prayer and heaven's reply? The truth is, the Lord's Prayer isn't magic. It's not meant to be recited like a spell. It's a blueprint. Jesus didn't give us these words to memorize. He gave us a spiritual structure, a step-by-step journey into the heart of God. But when we treat it like a ritual instead of a roadmap, we miss the entire point. We miss the depth, the beauty, the power. This prayer holds spiritual codes, hidden layers that unlock connection with God, clarity for our calling, even keys for breakthroughs in our finances, mental health, and relationships. So here's the question that changes everything. What if the prayer you thought you already knew is actually the one you've never truly prayed? Today, we're not just going to recite the Lord's Prayer, we're going to decode it. Line by line, phrase by phrase, we'll uncover truths that have been overlooked for centuries. We'll expose the real purpose behind the words. And as we do, you may find that the distance you felt from God isn't because He stopped listening. It's because we stopped understanding. And today, that's going to change. When spiritual routine becomes empty, you can pray every day and still feel empty. You can read the Bible, attend church, listen to sermons, and still deep down feel disconnected. Why? Because when something becomes routine, it loses its revelation. What once felt alive starts to feel mechanical. And what once stirred your soul becomes just another item on a to-do list. There are people praying right now, with discipline, with devotion, and yet they feel spiritually bankrupt. Not because they lack faith, but because they've lost intimacy. There's a difference. Can you feel it? Routine is a double-edged sword. It creates structure, yes, but if you're not careful, it can also create blindness. You start going through the motions. You say the right words. You even feel a flicker of hope. But inside, you're dry, numb, disconnected. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When your spirit gets used to the presence of God, it stops responding to it. That's not because God has changed. It's because we've allowed our awe to be replaced by autopilot. And autopilot can't take you to divine destinations. Think of the Israelites in the wilderness. They had manna every day, bread straight from heaven. But over time, they stopped seeing it as a miracle. What once was a supernatural provision became common, familiar, even annoying. They started craving other things. Why? Because they lost the sense of wonder. That same thing happens today. We can lose sight of how powerful prayer truly is. We can treat the sacred like it's casual and wonder why it's not changing us anymore. But what if the missing ingredient isn't more activity? It's more awareness? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you prayed and truly felt the presence of God? Not just repeated words, but actually felt the Spirit moving in the room? That's not a mystical fantasy. That's what prayer was meant to be. A place of revelation, not repetition. A space where your spirit aligns with heaven's heartbeat. If that's missing, it's not too late. But something has to shift. You have to reawaken your spirit, reignite the fire, rediscover the wonder. Because prayer isn't just a habit, it's the gateway to transformation. And that's exactly what we're moving into next. Is there a hidden code? If you knew there was a divine blueprint hidden inside a prayer you've repeated your entire life, would you slow down and look again? Most people don't. They recite it, move on, check the spiritual box. But what if Jesus encoded something far greater than a surface-level prayer? What if each line was layered with revelation, strategy, even breakthrough? You see, God doesn't waste words. And when Jesus gave this prayer to his disciples, he wasn't giving them a mantra. He was delivering a map to the heart of God, a map to the kingdom. Let's be clear, this isn't mystical fluff. This is structure, it's framework, it's divine order. Jesus was teaching us how to access something deeper, something that transforms mindset, money, health, relationships, and your entire inner world. Our Father who art in heaven. That's not just a greeting, that's a positioning. It's an identity shift. It's where you stop approaching God like a stranger and start aligning with him like a son. The entire prayer unfolds this way, each phrase unlocking the next like divine architecture. Why is this important? Because most people pray for results, but never engage with the design. They want the fruit of prayer without honoring the form of it. And then they wonder why their finances don't change, why anxiety keeps showing up, why the same emotional patterns repeat over and over. The answer is simple. They're using a spiritual tool without understanding how it works. It's like having the keys to a vault but never learning how to turn the lock. The Lord's Prayer is that key. But it must be turned with intention. In Proverbs 25:2 it says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings." That verse isn't random. It's a direct invitation. God hides things not to keep them from us, but to lead us into pursuit. There's a reason Jesus didn't teach this prayer with deep explanation in the moment. He wasn't withholding, he was igniting curiosity. Only those who seek deeper find deeper. Only those who honor the layers experience the power. And you, right now, are being called into that search. So let me ask you, What if the lack in your life isn't because you're doing something wrong, but because you're missing something hidden? What if your next breakthrough isn't in a new job or a new strategy, but in understanding the prayer you've already been praying? This is about spiritual intelligence, about divine awareness, about seeing with new eyes. Because the Lord's Prayer isn't just something you say, it's something you live, and once you see what's beneath the surface, you'll never pray the same way again. And friend, that's exactly where we're going next. Our Father, a redefinition of identity. The very first words Jesus chose matter more than most people realize. Our Father. Stop and think about that. Not my Lord, not Almighty God, but Father. That word carries weight, it carries history, and for many it carries pain. Because if you've been abandoned, rejected, or raised by someone who never affirmed your worth, the word Father doesn't feel holy, it feels hollow. But Jesus knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just teaching us to pray, he was teaching us who we are. You see, identity is the foundation of spiritual power. You will never walk in the fullness of your calling if you still see yourself as an outsider. And when Jesus opened the prayer with Our Father, he wasn't just referencing God's role, he was redefining yours. You're not a beggar hoping for scraps from heaven's table. You're a son, a daughter, an heir. The Apostle Paul echoed this truth in Romans 8:15. You did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry, Abba, Father. That changes everything. Imagine the shift that happens when a believer stops praying from insecurity and starts praying from inheritance. A son doesn't plead. A daughter doesn't perform. Children of God don't have to earn access. They already have it. That's the first key to unlocking the hidden code inside this prayer. If you don't start from identity, everything else in the prayer becomes distorted. You'll pray out of fear, not faith. You'll approach God like a stranger, not a father. And that will limit everything you ever ask for or expect. Now think about how this affects your life beyond prayer. Your finances, your emotional health, your dreams, your ability to hear God's voice, to understand your purpose, to walk with authority. All of it is filtered through identity. When you know you're a child of God, you stop chasing affirmation and start living from alignment. You stop grinding for worth and start moving with wisdom. You stop doubting your place and start standing in your position. This is not about positive thinking. This is about spiritual alignment. So let me ask you right now, when you pray, who do you think you are? Not what do you say, but what do you believe about yourself? Because the way you see yourself determines how you approach God and how you expect Him to respond. The moment you shift into the truth of sonship, everything opens. Not because God changes, but because you finally believe what He's always said. Our Father. 2 words, 1 identity. And that identity is the gateway to power, purpose, and everything that follows in this divine prayer. Your will be done, the most dangerous prayer you can pray. Let's not sugarcoat this. When Jesus said, "Your will be done," He wasn't offering a nice suggestion. He was modeling radical surrender, complete relinquishment. Not my plan, not my way, not my comfort. Yours, Father, all of it. And here's the truth few are willing to say. This is the most dangerous prayer in the entire Bible. Not because God's will is cruel, but because your ego won't survive it. This prayer doesn't just shift your external life, it confronts your internal world, your preferences, your pride, your plans. Think of Jesus in Gethsemane, blood on his brow, sweat in his eyes, the weight of the cross already resting on his shoulders. And even then, Especially then, he prayed it, "Not my will, but yours be done." That wasn't resignation, that was trust, that was clarity, that was absolute spiritual authority. You see, most people ask God for his blessing, but never actually invite his will. And that's the difference between a life of striving and a life of supernatural alignment. One fights against the current, the other flows with divine power. This part of the Lord's Prayer isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the surrendered. It's for the one who's willing to give up control to gain clarity. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop demanding your way is the exact moment God begins opening his way. You might not like the route. It may stretch you, test you, even break you, but it will also build you, bless you, and ultimately lead you into everything you were designed to carry. Purpose always costs something, but refusing it costs everything. In a world obsessed with personal freedom, this prayer sounds almost offensive, but in the kingdom, surrender is freedom. Because when you give God control, you stop being tossed around by uncertainty. You start operating with focus, with boldness, with spiritual intelligence. You stop chasing every trend and start locking into eternal truth. God's will doesn't diminish your life, it expands it. It multiplies it. It aligns your gifts, your goals, and even your finances with heaven's timing. And suddenly, doors open that hustle never could. So let me ask you, when was the last time you actually asked for God's will and meant it? Not just in words, but in posture, in attitude, in action. This is the place where real transformation begins, where you stop managing your life like a business and start yielding it like a vessel, where you trade ambition for assignment, control for calling, fear for faith. Because when you pray your will be done, you're not just asking God to take the lead, you're declaring you're ready to follow. Wherever he leads, no matter the cost. And that, my friend, is where power begins. Give us this day our daily bread, more than just food. When Jesus said, "Give us this day our daily bread," he wasn't teaching us to beg for survival. He was teaching us to trust in divine rhythm, a rhythm of daily provision, daily connection, daily dependence. Because let's be honest, we want guarantees. We want the 5-year plan, the clear forecast, the investment that multiplies overnight. But in the kingdom, God often works with daily deposits, not because he's stingy, but because he's after your heart. He's training you to walk by faith, not by sight, moment by moment, day by day. This part of the prayer reaches far beyond literal food. It speaks to every area of need, emotional, spiritual, financial, even relational. It's about more than what fills your stomach. It's about what sustains your soul, what fuels your productivity, what sharpens your mental clarity, what strengthens your health, what anchors your peace. And sometimes the bread you need today isn't money or miracles. It's patience, wisdom, a clear next step, and God knows how to give exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, never too soon, never too late. Think of the Israelites in the desert. God gave them manna, one day at a time, and if they tried to hoard it, it spoiled. Why? Because God was teaching them to trust him daily, not depend on yesterday's blessing. That same principle still applies. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need today's step. And in today's world of anxiety, overthinking, and obsession with outcomes, this line of the prayer brings peace. It reminds you to pause, to breathe, to return to the present. Because God's presence is in the present. So I ask you, what's your daily bread right now? Is it a door to open, a mindset to shift, a habit to release? When you begin to see this prayer as a daily download, as divine provision for your inner and outer world, you stop striving. You start receiving. You move out of fear and into flow. That's how the kingdom works, one day at a time, one breakthrough at a time. And as you continue praying this way, you'll notice something powerful. You're no longer just asking God to feed you, you're allowing Him to lead you. The turning point. The prayer that reveals what's inside. At first glance, the Lord's Prayer seems simple, almost serene, but don't be fooled. This prayer is a mirror. Line by line, it reveals what we believe and what we avoid. It exposes where we trust and where we control. And for those willing to engage with it deeply, it doesn't just echo upward, it echoes inward. Because God never designed prayer to be a performance. He designed it to be a place of alignment. And alignment requires honesty. Bold, raw, uncomfortable honesty. You say, "Your kingdom come," but do you really want God's reign over your decisions or just your circumstances? You pray, "Forgive us our debts," but are you actually releasing others or still nursing resentment in the background? You ask to be delivered from evil, but have you left the door cracked for temptation? You see, the Lord's Prayer isn't just a list of holy requests. It's a series of spiritual checkpoints. And each one is asking, are you living what you're praying? Hebrews 4:12 says the word of God cuts deep, dividing soul and spirit, judging the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. That's exactly what happens when you slow down and sit with this prayer. It starts peeling back layers. It challenges your comfort zones. It asks you to face your fears, your motives, even your self-deception, not to shame you, but to heal you. Because God can only transform what you're willing to acknowledge. And the Lord's Prayer doesn't let you hide. This is where the shift begins, where repetition becomes revelation, where you stop seeing prayer as something you do and begin seeing it as something that does something to you. A real prayer life doesn't just comfort, it convicts. It doesn't just ask, it awakens. It's not about sounding spiritual, it's about becoming aligned. That's why this prayer changes people, not because of the words alone, but because of what the words confront in us. And if you're willing to lean in, really lean in, that confrontation becomes your invitation to grow. So here's the question. What is this prayer exposing in you right now? Don't run from it. Don't explain it away. Lean into it. Because every breakthrough you've been praying for starts with the willingness to be real before God. This is where transformation begins. Not when the external shifts, but when the internal aligns. And the Lord's Prayer, it's the most precise tool you have for that alignment. If you dare to engage with it fully, you won't just pray differently, you'll live differently. The code that unlocks heaven, unity and forgiveness. There's a code hidden in the Lord's Prayer that most people miss entirely. A code that determines whether the heavens open or stay silent. You've said the words before. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. But here's the truth. This line isn't poetic. It's prophetic, it's a spiritual law, and when Jesus taught it, he meant every word. Forgiveness isn't optional, it's foundational. It's the bridge between heaven's resources and your earthly reality. And if that bridge is broken, the flow stops. Now watch this. Throughout the entire prayer, Jesus uses plural language. Our Father, give us this day, forgive us, lead us not into temptation. Why? Because the kingdom is collective. It doesn't operate through isolation. It flows through unity. And unity, at its core, is impossible without forgiveness. You can't be aligned with God while you're actively divided from His people. It doesn't work. That's why Jesus said in Matthew 6:15, if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. That's not harsh. That's reality. Forgiveness isn't about emotion. It's about obedience. You don't have to feel ready to release someone. You just have to choose to. Because forgiveness is what unlocks forward movement. Some people are stuck not because they lack faith, but because they're carrying offense, bitterness, wounds they've refused to let go, and those wounds are clogging their spiritual pipeline. But the moment you forgive, something shifts. The weight lifts. Heaven responds. You're no longer just praying for change. You've become the vessel through which change flows. This isn't just about healing your past, it's about protecting your future. Forgiveness makes space for clarity, for strategy, for divine ideas that build income, peace, legacy, and calling. It's hard to move toward purpose when you're still tethered to pain. And many believers are unknowingly sabotaging their productivity, their relationships, even their ability to hear God, simply because they're holding on to an offense that prayer was designed to heal. Forgiveness is the detox of the soul, and most people need it far more than they realize. So let me ask you, who do you need to release? Not for their sake, but for yours. Not because they were right, but because your spirit needs to breathe again. The code is simple. If you want to unlock heaven, you must unlock your heart. Unity brings acceleration, forgiveness brings freedom. And when both align, something powerful happens. The kingdom begins to move through you. This isn't just a prayer you say, this is a reality you embody. And when you step into it, the atmosphere shifts. In your life, your home, your finances, your future. It all starts here, bringing the kingdom into your daily life. When you pray, your kingdom come, you're not just inviting heaven to show up, you're agreeing to carry it. This isn't about waiting for God to intervene from a distance. It's about becoming the conduit, the carrier, the representative of divine order in everyday places. The kingdom isn't a far-off land in the clouds. It's a present reality that manifests through people who walk in alignment. That means how you show up at work, how you treat strangers, how you respond under pressure. Every moment becomes an opportunity for kingdom expression. Most people separate the sacred from the practical. They pray in the morning and then go through the rest of the day in survival mode. But Jesus didn't teach us to pray, "Take us to the kingdom." He said, "Bring it here." That changes everything, because the kingdom shows up when you forgive someone who doesn't deserve it, when you speak life instead of gossip, when you manage your money with wisdom, when you lead your team with integrity. The kingdom isn't a Sunday experience. It's a Monday mindset, a Tuesday posture, a Wednesday decision. Let's make this personal. You're not just a believer, you're a kingdom ambassador. And that means your career, your creativity, your business, even your fitness. They're all places where God can move through you. When you see your work as worship, your energy changes. You start showing up with excellence, with strategy, with solutions that don't just help you make money, but build legacy. That's how kingdom thinkers move. They don't chase success, they carry purpose. And that purpose produces impact. And yes, often it produces income too. So let me ask you, where is God calling you to bring the kingdom today? Is it in how you parent, how you lead your business, how you treat your spouse, your co-workers, your clients? The kingdom isn't an abstract idea, it's a mindset, a culture, a frequency. And when you align with it, you stop reacting to life and start governing it. That's what Jesus modeled. That's what this prayer activates. And that's what you're stepping into, not just through your words, but through how you walk out your day, conquering anxiety with daily bread. Anxiety thrives in the unknown. It multiplies in tomorrow. It steals your clarity, your peace, your productivity, one thought at a time. And yet Jesus taught us to pray for daily bread, not tomorrow's stockpile, not next year's strategy, just today. That wasn't an accident. That was intentional design. Because your spirit was never meant to carry the weight of the future all at once. You were created for daily rhythm, daily reliance, daily alignment with divine provision. And when you live that way, anxiety loses its grip. Most people don't realize this. Anxiety isn't always about circumstances. It's often about misplaced attention. You're trying to solve next month with today's energy. You're battling fears that haven't even happened. Jesus addressed this directly in Matthew 6:34. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. That's not passive spirituality. That's powerful strategy. Because peace doesn't come from predicting outcomes. It comes from trusting the one who already holds them. Think of manna in the wilderness. God gave it day by day, no more, no less. And when they tried to hoard it, it rotted. That story wasn't just historical, it was prophetic. It was God saying, I want to be your source, not your backup plan, not your emergency contact, your daily bread. And when you start showing up each morning asking, God, what's today's portion? Something powerful happens. Your nervous system settles, your mind clears, your pace slows, your heart anchors. That's spiritual intelligence in action. But here's where the shift becomes practical. Anxiety can't survive in an environment of awareness. So begin your day differently. Before you scroll, before you answer, before you problem solve, pause, breathe, ask for bread. Ask for the wisdom you need today, the favor you need today, the creativity, the energy, the clarity. Let God be your planner. Let him be your strategist. And don't just ask, listen. Because what you receive in that space will shape how you carry everything else. So let me ask you, what would change in your life if you stopped forecasting fear and started receiving daily bread? You're not built to live in next week. You're not wired to handle the weight of every possibility at once. That's why this prayer is genius. That's why Jesus framed it this way. It recenters you, refocuses you, resets your internal world. And when you master this rhythm, you don't just conquer anxiety. You build a mindset that attracts peace, clarity, even ideas that unlock income, health, and lasting transformation. And it starts today. Transforming relationships through true forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's mastery, and yet it's one of the hardest things for the human heart to release. That's why Jesus wove it directly into the fabric of the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us as we forgive. He knew. He knew what offense could do, how it corrodes trust, how it poisons joy, how it paralyzes purpose. And he gave us a system not just for spiritual connection, but for relational restoration. Because unforgiveness isn't just a heart issue, it's a kingdom blocker. It stops flow, it kills vision, it shuts doors. Some people are stuck spiritually, not because they lack prayer, but because they've refused to release. And they don't realize the bitterness they carry is contaminating every area of their life. You can't compartmentalize pain. What you hold on to in one area eventually leaks into others. Your business, your health, your ability to receive love. Ephesians 4:32 says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you." That's not a suggestion, it's a survival strategy. For your soul, for your success, for your sanity. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It means you've decided it won't define you anymore. It's not forgetting, it's freeing, it's refusing to let the past dominate your future. And this is key. Forgiveness isn't just vertical, it's horizontal. You can't ask God for mercy while refusing to extend it to others. It doesn't align, it doesn't flow. The power of the prayer breaks down when the posture of your heart breaks covenant. And many believers unknowingly sabotage their divine alignment by holding grudges in secret. So how do you do it? How do you forgive when the wound is deep? You start by making the decision, not the feeling, the decision. You release the debt. You cancel the emotional invoice. You bless even when it feels unnatural. And you do it not because they deserve it, but because you desire freedom, real freedom. This is spiritual entrepreneurship. This is the work of inner mastery. It doesn't just restore relationships. It restores energy, perspective, capacity, and in many cases it reopens doors that were closed for years. Let me ask you something. Is there someone you're still carrying inside your soul? Someone you need to release today? It could be a parent, a partner, a friend, or maybe it's yourself. Because sometimes the person you need to forgive the most is the one staring back in the mirror. When that happens, when you release, when you bless, when you let it go, you don't just feel lighter, you become a vessel again. Clean, clear, ready, and from that place everything in your life accelerates, everything aligns, and everything that was stuck starts to move again. A daily decision, kingdom or ego. Every single day you're making a choice, whether you realize it or not. You're either building your own kingdom or you're yielding to God's. There is no neutral ground. No middle option. One leads to striving, burnout, and illusion. The other leads to clarity, flow, and divine acceleration. And here's the catch. Both feel right in the moment, but only one brings fruit that lasts. Your kingdom come. It's not just a line in a prayer. It's a daily invitation to surrender the throne. And that choice? It determines the shape of your entire life. The ego is subtle. It masks itself as logic, as self-preservation, even as ambition. But at its core, ego says, I decide, I control, I build. And the danger is it can look spiritual, it can wear a suit, quote scripture, even attend church, but it refuses to submit. It fears surrender, and it always demands to be right. Meanwhile, the kingdom operates on entirely different principles. It says, I trust, I obey, I align. It doesn't mean passivity. It means power under purpose, confidence rooted in calling, vision fueled by intimacy with God. Jesus was crystal clear in Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. That's not theory, that's divine order. Put God's rule first, and everything else flows. Purpose, provision, peace, even productivity. Because when you're aligned, you stop chasing, you start attracting, you stop trying to force the outcome, and start flowing with divine momentum. That's the difference between trying to get rich and being led into abundance, between hustling for influence and carrying authentic authority. So what does this look like in your daily life? It's in how you start your day, what thoughts you agree with, what goals you write down, whether you're led by pressure or by peace, whether you ask, what can I get or what can I give, whether you're building from identity or trying to earn it. Every decision becomes a vote, kingdom or ego, spirit or flesh, alignment or resistance. And the more you choose rightly, even in small ways, the more your entire world begins to transform. Let me ask you directly, what are you building today? A platform that feeds your image or a life that fulfills your assignment? Are you spending your energy protecting an idea of success or investing in eternal purpose? One will exhaust you, the other will expand you. So today, right now, is a moment of decision. Not someday. Not when you're more spiritual. Right here, right now. Choose the kingdom. Choose surrender. Choose alignment. Because everything you're praying for is waiting on the other side of that decision. The final secret, when heaven touches earth. Most people read the Lord's Prayer as a spiritual checklist, beginning, middle, and end. But the final lines, they're not just a conclusion. They're a declaration, a shift in atmosphere. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. That's not just a closing statement, it's an ignition. It seals the prayer in identity, authority, and eternity. It takes everything you've just prayed and lifts it out of time, out of struggle, out of limitation, and places it in the realm of victory. A reminder, God's rule is unshakable, His power is endless, His glory is forever. This is the crescendo, the moment the prayer becomes proclamation. After surrendering, after forgiving, after aligning, you step into this final phrase not as a beggar, but as an heir, a co-laborer, a kingdom carrier. You're not ending the prayer, you're stepping into your role. When you say, "Yours is the kingdom," you're reminding your spirit who's in charge. When you say, "Yours is the power," you're refusing to carry the weight alone. And when you say, "Yours is the glory," you're releasing the results. The outcome is His. The timeline is His. And that releases you from fear. Now this is where it gets powerful, because the moment you truly believe that, everything shifts. Anxiety loses its grip, scarcity breaks, pressure dissolves. Why? Because you've entered the atmosphere of heaven while standing on earth. You're no longer reacting to the world around you, you're responding to the world within you. That's what Jesus meant when He said the kingdom is within you. Luke 17:21. It's not a place you visit, it's a power you carry. And when you pray from that place, mountains move, opportunities open, peace becomes your default. So many believers finish this prayer and go back to life as usual. But what if this ending wasn't an exit, but an entry? What if this final phrase is your daily reminder that the kingdom has come, and now you're the one assigned to carry it? This is where theology becomes transformation. This is where prayer turns into practice. Because when you truly believe it's His kingdom, His power and His glory, you stop trying to prove yourself and start living from the overflow of divine purpose. So here's the real question. What would your life look like if you lived every day like heaven was already within reach? Not someday, not after breakthrough, not when you feel spiritual enough, but right now, today. Because the truth is, heaven has never been far. The code wasn't hidden from you, it was hidden for you. And now you see it, you feel it, and you're ready to live it. And if this prayer has unlocked something in you, just wait. In the next chapter, we're going even deeper, so don't stop here. What's coming next will shake everything. Now you see it. The Lord's Prayer, the one you've whispered, memorized, maybe even overlooked, was never meant to be religious routine. It was a framework, a divine technology, a kingdom system for transformation, alignment, provision, and power. And the greatest lie was that it was just words. You've just walked through the layers, you've seen the blueprint, and now the question is simple. Will you live it, or will you return to repetition? You don't need another breakthrough. You need better alignment. You don't need to pray harder. You need to pray deeper, with understanding, with awareness, with identity. Because now, every line of this prayer means something different. It carries weight. It speaks to your business, your health, your anxiety, your calling. It answers questions you didn't even know how to ask. And it brings you back to the place God always wanted you, face to face with Him, fully alive in who you are. So I challenge you, take what you've seen here and don't let it fade. Rewatch this, share this, speak this, live this. Forgive like it's urgent, align like it's everything. And pray like your words are building the world you're about to step into, because they are. Drop a comment below. What part of this prayer hit you the hardest? And if you're ready to go deeper, there's more coming. The next video will take this further than you ever imagined, because this journey, it's only beginning, and what's coming next will reshape your reality.